When you hold your cards to your vest, ain't nobody can see them. But sometimes when you emerge from the shadows, you got two aces.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. You can turn any TV into your Xbox, no console required. Head on over to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On in order to learn more. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, what a weekend it was for Wolfpack Nation. We had a flurry of commitments come in on Friday. NC State baseball not just won the series, swept the series against number 2 ranked Clemson. We'll, of course, get into that a little bit later in the show. We got some basketball commitments finally to talk about on here. We did have Colt Langdon near the end of last week, but on Friday, we had not one but 2 commitments. One of them came completely out of the clouds. That is Florida State forward Jerry Deng. Kenton, neither one of us saw this one coming. I think most of NC State fans and media were not privy to this information coming out as quick as it did. What does this mean for this staff who continues to move in silence to pull out a hell of a recruit in Jerry Deng?
You know, again, this is why I said no need to be flying off the deep end and all that good stuff when there is not a full month under the. What this is saying, again, all of the, hey, there has to be motion. There has to be a lot of, I understand the concern about, hey, are they letting grass grow under their feet? I understand the concern. But at the end of the day, don't let that concern turn you into some negative Nancy that's crapping on players that are committing because you're like, oh, this isn't the big enough player. This fish isn't big enough. Well, maybe that fish is meant to complement what is already turning into a beautiful aquarium. Just take a second and breathe. Just take a second and understand, hey, Will Wade's got us. And again, this is still year 1. Even if Will Wade wasn't cooking like this in the portal, really, this is year 0.
Yeah.
Year 0, right? Like, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I've never felt like, it is really quiet. Grayson and I came on here for days in a row. Things are quiet. Things are quiet. Things are developing, but they're quiet. But again, don't mistake activity for achievement. And don't mistake the lack of activity for the lack of progress. That's what I would say is the big thing coming out of all this. Like we've always said, again, it's understandable to be worried. That's understandable. I'm never going to tell anybody, man, you even doubted them for a second. I mean, listen, in almost every holy book, even if you're not a religious person, it has a story of somebody doubting the Almighty, whatever. It's normal. We're humans. You're going to doubt sometimes. But the reality is, again, at the end of that doubt should be hope, should be optimism, should be, you know what? I'm kind of tripping right now. We're going to be all right, which looks like this team will be just fine.
I didn't think you're going to get all poetic with us with the beautiful aquarium, but there is something a little bit poetic about the way this staff kind of emerged out of nowhere with what seems to be a very nice piece to this, still formulating roster. And for all the talk about, we only have 8 players and we have, 6 to 7 spots to fill and we're not seeing anything happen. And you're seeing the Dirty Foot Club and all the other teams around the country, they're parading around their portal class. And I saw that really weird article from the guy that works for 247 Sports, but graduated from Carolina, saying that Will Wade has like the second most underwhelming portal class. I'm like, well, he's going to eat that one here in probably about a week's time. Boom. Jerry Deng from the literal cloud. No idea where this kid was coming from. And
how's that tweet aging, by the way? I'm sure it's aging better than your head coach's 24-year-old girlfriend. But seriously, how's that tweet aging? Is it doing well? But never mind. We're not going to get into that tweet. Go ahead, Grayson. I apologize.
The sourest of milk. And all the Dirty Foot Clubbers that you saw the last couple weeks saying, Will Wade, huh? Y'all were hyping him up and we're not seeing much over there. I didn't see a word from that group over this weekend after we pulled in not just Jerry Deng, but Terrance Arceneaux as well. So we'll get into Jerry Deng here first. He's a 6'9" forward from Florida State. Also spent one season, his first college season, with Hampton. And this kid can shoot it. And as much as he came out of the clouds, it's almost surprising because I think he's a really nice piece to what Will Wade's trying to put together here in year one. And his primary function appears to be shoot. He can shoot it from deep as well. He's 6'9" forward, shot 37% from deep last year on a pretty high volume, 43% overall, his field goal percentage. Doesn't really do a whole lot outside of that, and I think that's a lot of room for improvement that you can see moving forward. I mean, his frame and his size get him in the paint as well. Who knows what you could get out of him in terms of rebounding and interior scoring, but his ability to stretch the floor as a shooter, it seems like this is the type of player that Kevin Keatts really always wanted to have at the 4 spot. And Will Wade comes out of like the literal shadows and says, boom, y'all wanted something? Here, how about now? I think Jerry Deng could be potentially very dangerous on a team like this one. I don't think he'll be a starter, but his ability to come off the bench and give you those microwave minutes and bury a couple threes, he could be a very dangerous weapon. We're recording this obviously on Sunday. I'm still excited that not only did no one know about it, but I think he has a very high ceiling with what he can bring to the table. So Jerry Deng has a very smooth. I was watching some of his film over this weekend, and yeah, it's almost amazing that Florida State didn't get more out of him. He only played 15.4 minutes on average for the Seminoles this year. They might have been leaving a lot on the table. Well, I guess we'll have to find out for ourselves. But Jerry Deng was the first commitment to come across the finish line on Friday. And then when there was Terrance Arceneaux, and not a great kept secret, but Terrance Arceneaux is a kid that I am extremely high on. I hope I'm not too high on him, but I think there is a lot that he brings to the table and can more or less be like a little bit of a glue guy. Coming from Houston, we talked about how valuable his experiences the last 3 years have been and, just played in the national championship against Florida. But anytime you see a player off of a Houston team with Kelvin Sampson or kind of similar with Trey Holloman from Michigan State, they've been extremely well coached for the last 3 years. They're going to come in with a tough mindset, do whatever it takes to win, and anywhere they can help the team, they will find situations to put themselves into in order to help the team. And Terrance Arceneaux, even though he is kind of still coming back of the Achilles injury from December of 23, if he is getting back to full health, which I imagine at this point is probably pretty close to doing here, not only can he score the basketball, he gives you some physicality and defending on the wings because he's 6'6" forward, very quick on his feet, very good defender, just like a very good basketball player, a gritty basketball player. And I'm really, really, really happy to see this one finally get over the finish line. Terrance Arceneaux, Kenton, what are your thoughts on what he brings to the table?
I love me a hooper that does not just go into the weight room for the mirrors. And Terrance Arceneaux is not one of those guys. He is one of those guys, rather. You can tell he's got some size on him. He can still move laterally. He can still do all the things that you would expect him to offensively on all 3 levels, I would honestly say. And the biggest thing for me, like you talked about, different schools bring different things, different schools that are known for certain things. If you're a guard under Nate Oates, people are going to know you are fearless. You will let that ball fly from 2 steps past half court. You have no problem with taking the big shot. If you are if you're a guard, like you said, guard from Michigan State, we know you make good decisions. We know you're going to play some defense. We know you're going to pass the ball well. But if you're a guy from Houston, especially a wing type of guy, we know you can hustle. The effort will never be a question. It'll never be something where we're sitting up here saying, man, I just don't like that effort. I just don't think it's enough. So I'm super excited about Arceneaux, even outside of the actual talent that he has, God-given. The urgency, energy, and effort he plays with, I'm ready. I'm ready. Again, Will Wade is getting Will Wade guys. That's the best part about this to me. He's not just getting guys who are like, that's a third highest guy in the class. We need to get him. He's the third highest. We got to get him. He's the center. We need a center. He's getting guys and saying, you know what? Do they fit what I want to do? Do they fit how I want to do it? All right, let's get them. If they don't, good riddance. Hey, you could be the number 1 on the board. You're not number 1 on our board. See you later, son. We're going to get our guys, and we're going to be all right.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is exactly where I was going for my next point. If y'all remember how we spoke about Quadir Copeland and Trey Holloman when they committed to NC State, they're tough, They're hard-nosed. They play with an edge to them, and that aligns directly with who Will Wade is as a head coach. Terrance Arceneaux is yet another player that fits in that category. And so it's very clear the type of player and person he wants to play for him at NC State. They're going to play with an edge that we have not quite felt or seen in quite some time. And I'm really excited to see that on the court. And I know that I probably have a tendency to oversell some things because I get excited, as anyone should, if you're an NC State fan around this time of year. But I don't think I can oversell either one of these two commitments, Jerry Deng or Terrance Arceneaux. They're very scrappy type players, and I think they're both guys that have not come close to hitting their ceiling. I said that about a lot of our prospects that we've been looking at, but it's been pretty much true across the board. If they do find another gear, another level they can hit with Will Wade and this staff, this is only going to unlock what you can accomplish in year one, or in this case, year zero. So I think this is two both underrated but very important pickups for what they're trying to build here. And again, for all the doubters and all the other fan bases that were looking at NC State saying, no commitments, huh? Y'all really thought it was going to be different with Will Wade? It is. It is different. It's currently going differently with Will Wade. They're working in the shadows and they're being patient. We talked about the importance of being patient and not just flinging money because you feel like you have to be urgent and find the right guy at the right time. It's not about that. They are finding the right guy on their time. They're making sure that they have a system, they follow the system, then they go and find the guys that meet those expectations for that system. Both Jerry Deng and Terrance Arceneaux, it would appear that they both align very closely to the energy that this staff wants to pour into the program. And so very excited about what these two guys can bring. And they ain't done yet. We have even more to discuss here in the next couple minutes. Now that you got two more commitments off the board, where does the focus turn to next? We'll cover this and more after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers incredible ways to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you can get $250 back in bonus bets if that first pesky $5 bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many different ways to bet all of your favorite player prop. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine those player props into a same-game parlay for the chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head on over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 back in bonus bets today. Only on FanDuel.com. Middle portion of our Monday show, obviously still a whole lot to talk about on the transfer portal front for NC State basketball. You had your two commitments on Friday, both Jerry Deng and Terrance Arceneaux. We spoke last week about James Scott, who is the center from Louisville. Whether or not that's going to get across the finish line, I feel pretty positive about where that would be trending as well. So no need to kind of freak out that you haven't seen it yet, as, again, NC State and Will Wade was the team to ultimately draw him into the portal in the 11th hour of last week. So I guess that transitioned us into this conversation, Kenton, is where do you see NC State going next? Will it be James Scott? Will it be other names that are kind of in the shadows? We also mentioned Darion Williams from Texas Tech briefly last week. Me personally, I think that one will take a little bit longer to see where it plays out. But where do you see the Wolfpack target next?
Again, I want to make it clear that this podcast vehemently denies all allegations that we drew that young man into the portal. Those are false and erroneous claims by a bunch of bad actors. That we can't support that type of behavior. But now I'm waiting. I am waiting. The tweet is loaded up. 6'11" dunking specialist on my roster. No 6'11" dunking specialist on your roster. It's loaded. It's waiting. It's waiting for the commitment of Mr. Scott. It's there. But I'll tell you what, this man, if Will Wade can land both of these guys, again, everybody needs to be silent about everything for a very long time. Everybody needs to be quiet. And some of y'all still need to go apologize to Cole. Not saying, but I'm saying. Some of y'all still need to go apologize to that young man. So, that would be, those are the two moves that I'm looking at like, hey, that would blow a gasket. I would just be over the moon. I mean, I'm already over the moon about Will Wade and what we're seeing right now because, again, we're seeing a higher level of recruiting than we've seen in some time. That's just what it is. It's not a discredit to anybody or anything like that, but we're seeing, just quite frankly, more than we have in some time. And again, it's the quality of player combined with the fit of the player. that has me so geeked up about it. So I would be these two guys, perfect. What are we all begging for right now? A center. We need a center. We got to get a center. Well, there's one available. I know a guy, as my friends would say. I know a guy who can do those things. And of course, imagine bringing in multiple showstoppers in one class, because that's what Darion is. He's a showstopper. Okay, he is. We ain't had ourselves a guy that long that could absolutely fill it up without his back to the basket since Darion Sebron. Ain't that a weird coincidence? But in all seriousness, that's what you're looking at here. So, two very special talents. I would love to get both of them in Raleigh, but hell, either one of them in Raleigh is a win to me.
Yeah, when you're looking at having, I think, like 4 to 5 more roster spots available, I think it's just 4. You have some guards here. You just picked up some guys that could play the 3 spot or the 4 spot, kind of flexible in where you can slot them into the lineup, which I think is a high upside as well. So you're looking at a center position in which you still do need a starter, and I would anticipate that will be James Scott. Speaking of having tweets loaded up, that is one that I have loaded up, as I often do. If I feel good about where something is, I'll go ahead and have it ready. And I have the James Scott tweet ready to go. So we'll keep our eyes obviously peeled for that one here as this week goes on. And what does that mean for this roster is you probably fill out your starters once you have James Scott here. You're looking top down. You're going to have Trey Holloman run the point. He's going to be your 1. The 2 spot, I think, is kind of still up for grabs. I anticipate that Allen Breed coming with Wade from McNeese will be a legitimate option there at the 2. He can score it, but you didn't get to see him for an entire season last year due to injury. Matt Abel, I think, is interesting. I saw in his little intro video that they posted from the team account, he called himself a point guard. Whether that will be true or not this coming season, perhaps he can do some ball handling, and his outside shooting that could slot him in as a 2. You have Paul McNeil as an option for either a 2 as a 3, long shooter, very athletic, still scratching the surface with what he can do. Terrance Arceneaux, I think he's more of a 4. He might even be the starter at the 4 spot. All that experience. He's long, he's fast, he's a very tough defender. I'd be hard-pressed to believe you can keep him out of the starting lineup. You have Jerry Deng, just picked up from Florida State. All these names in a big way are going to be able to contribute right away. And so that does leave the gap at the center spot, which I anticipate will be James Scott here in a short amount of time. So now that transitions to what they want to do next. And we just mentioned Darion Williams from Texas Tech. Kind of just a tough situation where NC State has to play the waiting game on if he does choose to withdraw from the NBA draft. Then you got to fight off what I believe will be only Kansas. I don't think Ohio State will be that seriously in the mix. I don't want to speak too soon, but it feels like a 2-horse race between us and Kansas. So I saw UConn fans tweeting some stuff. We'll see where that goes, but it feels like a 2-horse race. If NC State can get both James Scott and Darion Williams would be the clear-cut starter, most likely at the 4 position. Darion Williams averaged 21-7, not for the season last year, just in March Madness. You want to talk about a winning basketball player making winning plays and winning time? 21-7 in over 4 games in March Madness. Whatever it takes, figure it out. You have got to find a way to land that on your roster. But again, it will be a waiting game. Kind of have to wait with bated breath to see if that does come to fruition for NC State. But if they can pull that off, that would be perhaps the biggest fish of the entire offseason. I've heard some whispers of a mystery player that's kind of in the shadows, similar to how Jerry Deng was. That's all we'll say for now. So we'll see where that goes here over the course of this week as well. But with 4 spots left, I anticipate that one of them will be the center, who I think will be James Scott. You're more than likely looking for more depth, maybe not so much as a guard. Probably like 1 guard. So 1 center, 1 guard, probably for depth purposes. And then most likely like 2 more forwards, 2 more guys that can slot in either the 4 or the 5, more than likely for depth. Because at this point, you have identified who your main contributors will be. So it's exciting to see all this come together in a very quick amount of time. And everybody that was worried last week, how we feeling now? You didn't think Will Wade be able to get it done with only 8 players, did you? Of course, the roster was nowhere near finished, and it takes time to get to a finalized product. And still being here in the month of April, you'll probably see more commitments come in the month of May. I understand the lack of patience, and I'll reference again the Michael Phelps meme that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Sometimes it is hard to just stay in your lane and look ahead, focus only on yourself. When you see all these other schools dancing around, look what we got now. NC State, Will Wade, and Andrew Slater have been quiet for a reason. They're keeping things under wraps. They're working extensively hard to ensure they can get to a good spot with some of these bigger names that they've been working on. And when it comes time, they'll let you know. And that's what happens with Jerry Deng here. Terrance Arceneaux is another one. Perhaps a James Scott here over the course of this week, and then more names to follow. It's all coming together. And all that patience that we talked about, it's going to pay off. Look at what the staff has accomplished in not only a month of transfer portal stuff, a month of being at NC State. They've only been here for a month. And look at what they've put together here in what is a relatively short amount of time. The reckoning is back on. Some of y'all thought it was off. It didn't go anywhere. The reckoning is very much on, and you're watching this roster come together in front of you in real time. So what's next this week? I would anticipate probably a center. I'd be shocked if NC State does not get James Scott. I know there's a couple other teams trying to get in the mix. Kansas State is one of them, but I would be hard-pressed to believe that he doesn't end up at NC State with the initial involvement. I guess I'll say it that way so Kenta doesn't jump all over me for accusations. But no, I think James is trending in a very positive direction for NC State to land him. And then from there, you pretty much have your starters, and the rest is backfilling in very key depth pieces. So obviously a lot to be excited about now, and we still ain't done. More pieces to come, more prospects to discuss, and hopefully a lot more excitement on board as well. Keep your eyes peeled over the course of this week. Where will this staff go next? I think that'll get answered in a very short amount of time. Coming up next, we're going to talk some Wolfpack baseball. They had one heck of a weekend themselves, I would say. A 3-game sweep over the number 2 ranked Clemson Tigers. What does this mean for this weekend and projecting out for the rest of the regular season? Very big things. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is Gametime. There's simply nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, and every moment, they all feel huge. It's electric inside the arena, and with Gametime, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, and even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down the closer you get to tip-off, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60% off finding NBA playoff ticket. Their all-in pricing inside the app will show you your total upfront with 0 surprise fees at checkout. And as always, you can get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect inside the arena. Take the guesswork out of buying playoff tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Last couple minutes of our Monday show. What a weekend for Pac-9 Wolfpack baseball. We spoke last week about Game 1 on Friday because they played that Game 1 on Thursday night. A 14-4 dominant victory to open the series. The dominance did not stop for the remainder of the weekend. Won Game 2. Won Game 3, picked up a 3-game sweep over the second-ranked Clemson Tigers. Oh, my God. I'm still, recovering from how
Break out your brooms, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Kent has got the broom on air to show Clemson what time it is.
Break them on out.
Swept clean out of Raleigh with the quickness as well. This is not just an impressive showing. This was a dominant showing by Wolfpack baseball. They didn't just beat Clemson. They smoked Clemson. You talk about having complete and full control in all 3 of these games. This is one of the most impressive 3-game series I've seen for NC State baseball in years. That is not hyperbole. In years have I not seen a performance like this one. Game 2, Heath Andrews got the start on the mound, put together one of his best starts of the entire season, went 6 innings strong, a career-high 9 strikeouts, and gave NC State the opportunity to kind of claw back in it late. They scored 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th. Alex Sosa hit a mammoth 3-run opposite field home run in the 7th inning. Kenton, I don't know if you've heard this around your way, but other teams in college baseball, for some reason, have allowed Alex Sosa to get hot. Against my multiple of my own warnings to other teams, do not let Alex Sosa get hot. They went and did it now. What does that mean for NC State baseball?
Oh, it means a ton. One of our livest bats is coming at his most alive. This is something that coming into the season, we talked about, hey, we're going to have to play small ball, but somebody's going to have to step up and provide that pop. And the biggest candidate for that was none other than Alex Sosa, okay? because these women, these children, these men, they love Sosa. Everybody loves Sosa.
These ladies in particular, those ladies,
Really?
they love them some
They
Sosa.
love some Sosa. They love some Sosa. Hodge kids, they put them on. Because when Sosa is at bat, they liable to get hit by one of those dingers that's flying all the way out of the park. I mean, this is, again, when you talk about what this team is, right? Grace and I have constantly said, this is a team that does not need to fall in love with the long ball and be obsessed with that. Just be disciplined and stay within yourself. But notice, Grayson didn't say, oh, Sosa's hitting a bunch of solo shots. He said a 3-run homer, which means what? Guys are getting on base. Guys are getting in scoring position. It's a very simple equation. Stay within yourself, know yourself, and trust your teammates. Because everybody cannot be a star, but everybody can star in their role. But Alex Sosa, your role is star, brother. Congratulations. You've been cast. We'll send you the script shortly.
You got guys like Josh Hogue and Chris McHugh and Braden Fraseman, who stayed hot as well in this game too. 13 more hits on top of the 19 you put on them in game 1. It was just a barrage of offense in these first 2 games. Wolfpack take game 2 by a score of 8-3. So you win the series, and that felt great on Friday. But like we were talking about, the work was nowhere near finished. If you can get a sweep against a team like this one, gun for it. We talked about the way that the weekend had set up for the pitching staff as well, because on Friday night, you only needed Fritton, and then Anderson Nance came to close in that one. Game 2, you only needed 6 innings of Heath Andrews, and then you got 3 innings of relief, a 3-inning save for Andrew Schaffner, who's been very impressive for State as well. Going into Game 3, you had a Ryan Marone on full rest, and you had a Jacob Duden on full rest. Didn't even need him in the first 2 games of the series. And imagine getting beat the whole weekend, just getting your doors blown off. And Game 3 is a pretty close game, and Jacob Duden is coming out of the bullpen in the 9th inning. Are you kidding me? Like, if I'm Clemson, I'm dropping first a lot of expletives when I see that happen. But it's just like, oh my God, could this weekend get any worse the way it has gone for us? Jacob Duden I'll work backwards here. Jacob Duden comes into the 9th, 12 consecutive sliders, didn't even let him see the fastball, punches out all 3 guys, struck out the side. Sicko behavior, that Jacob Duden, but that's exactly what we expected of him. All right, so going back to the front here, Game 3, you had Ryan Marone on the mound. He has been very hot of late. I think he had a 7 2/3 inning outing at Cal last weekend to complete that sweep. Then he turns around and gives you 8 innings against Clemson in Game 3. 1 run, only 5 hits. He punched out 5 as well. Masterful performance. And he's been arguably the most consistent of our 3 starting pitchers this year. Dom Fritton's somewhere in that conversation as well. But when Ryan Marone gets in a groove and he flips on the cruise control, as I like to call it, he can just sail through any lineup in the country with how effective and efficient he is with his 3-pitch arsenal. Ryan Marone was spectacular in Game 3 and gave NC State the opportunity to go ahead and sweep.
Let me tell you something. Ryan Marone and Jacob Duden, you talk about, you've gone through this whole series getting your behind whooped and you ain't even seen Jacob Duden yet. For those of you who don't know, imagine Dragon Ball Z, right? You're giving everything you got to Krillin in that Destructo disc, and you're like, man, he's working us. I don't know what we're going to do. And while you're down on the ground, Goku walks up like, hey, actually, I've got something I need to talk to you about. That's what happened here. That's very much so what happened here. I mean, you talk about 12 straight sliders. What does this man think he is? Mariano Rivera? He said, I don't need no other pitch. I don't need tertiary pitch. What does that mean? No, I'm going to throw what I throw, and you go ahead and catch up to it. You go ahead and do something with it. And it turns out they couldn't do nothing with it. They could not do a darn thing with that slider. Hey, the dude abides. And again, I'm not saying he has permission to use Deads as his walk-up song if he chose to when he's walking up to the mound. I'm just saying it'd be a great time. It'd be a great time because the hitters are, in fact, in trouble when that man is going up to the mound. But more importantly, Marone has been absolutely cooking, man. He has been, 8 innings. 8 innings. Think about this for a second. We don't even see guys in the pros do that on the regular, much less college. That's not normal. This is freak stuff right here, man. And this is not only is it insane from the path of you're pitching 8 good innings. Wow, you must be so good and all that good stuff. You're pitching 8 good innings against a team that has not lost a single series all year coming in to Raleigh. This is unheard of, man. Elliott Avent circles the wagons like nobody else. He's the coach that, regardless of how doom and gloom it looks early in the season, he's the coach. I would say not only has this team secured an NCAA tournament bid, regardless of what happens the rest of the way with this, I would argue they secured hosting. I would argue they secured hosting with this one.
They're awfully close right now. A little bit more work still to do, but they are awfully close. Their RPI jumped, I believe, from 31 all the way up into 22. So they're moving into a very good spot here with a couple weeks left to play. But just an unbelievable 3-game showing for NC State, and continually getting tougher and tougher and tougher as the season has gone on. Not dying when Virginia had you down, not dying when Louisville had you down, going across the country and still standing on business, sweeping Cal, coming back home here to take on one of the toughest teams of the country. Because I want to reiterate, Clemson has been every single bit of one of the top 5 teams in the country. To Kenton's point, they had not lost a single series for the entirety of the season, not in non-conference, not in ACC play. They have been dominant. And to watch that team come into Raleigh and just get completely undressed was phenomenal. There is something to be said about that for Elliott Avent teams. They will always play the top teams tough, regardless of who it is. And that's why I've been so adamant on here for a couple of years now, why people continue to doubt him after a couple games in February and early March. We know how this goes. NC State baseball every year, once they get hot in April, they can play with anyone. And it has taken them to Omaha on multiple occasions within the last 4 to 5 years. This team is in a fantastic position. Now, actually, sitting atop the ACC, they are in first place because Florida State kind of pooped down their leg against Louisville and got their doors blown off in Game 3. NC State has sole possession of the number 1 seed in the ACC right now. And you want to talk about putting yourself in a good spot with the ACC tournament coming up and the hosting conversation coming down the pipeline as well. If they continue to handle their business on a similar level to what they're doing right now, I don't see any reason they wouldn't be hosting when the time comes. So keeping this momentum, keeping guys like Alex Sosa hot is a really big deal. He also homered in Game 3 if the Mammoth Blast in Game 2 wasn't enough for you. This team is finding additional ways to beat up on anyone, whether it's Clemson, the Dirty Foot Club we're going to see in a couple weeks. I believe we're in Miami next weekend. Miami's getting hot at the right time. I would take NC State against seemingly anyone with the way that they're playing baseball right now. So unbelievable 3-game sweep over second-ranked Clemson. Cannot wait to watch them continue to ride out this momentum into this coming week because there's still some work to be done, but they're in a fantastic position to make a little bit of noise in postseason baseball. That will do it for us here on Monday. A ton to talk about. There will be all week, in fact, but 2 big-time basketball commitments on Friday. Jerry Deng from Florida State, Terrance Arceneaux from Houston. Massive additions to Will Wade's new roster here in just year 1, and they certainly won't be the last ones. Another big week of recruiting for this staff coming up. And baseball, continuing this momentum, massive sweep over Clemson. Now they set their sights on, I believe, UNCW and Miami to close this week. Make sure to hit that like button if you have not already. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on Jerry Deng and Terrance Arceneaux, James Scott, any other names you've heard about. Want to float them in the comment box? Get them all in there. We want to hear your thoughts on where Will Wade is building his roster up into now. And NC State baseball, if you were at the Doak over the weekend, tell us what the atmosphere was. Tell us what it was like to watch NC State put hammer to nail over the second-ranked Clemson Tigers. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.